Yeah.
Well, not only is the medical science better, but I felt really isolated back then. So I had no support, and there was no welfare, and there was
It's just bad luck, mate.
So emotionally, I had to deal with it on my own, and physically, I was on my own. It made me a better person in a lot of ways and a stronger character, but I would have liked a bit more robustness around me to help me through that. And I think the AFLPA are doing a wonderful job, and all individual clubs are doing a great job at supporting players through difficult times, whether it's injury or off-field matters. And we didn't have that environment back then, so it was tough. And just really, really quickly, a friend of mine worked out only recently. He did it as a dinner party joke, but he said, "Buddy's 10-year contract or 9-year contract, 10 million." And because Buddy had 67 goals at the end of round 22 this year, he said Sydney Swans have paid something like $15,000 a goal this year.
Yeah, right.
And he worked out that I cost the Bombers $9.50 a goal back in 1984. So the game's come a long way.
I hope you didn't have to pay for your own knee reconstruction. But the point is well made around extra support that is given and the increasing recognition of the need for that support and, the potential for depression and all sorts of mental health issues among these effectively young men who may, have difficulty realising their dreams in football.
Yeah, look, I think firstly I'd just reinforce the point Paul's made. I've only been in this industry now for 4 weeks and I'm very impressed with how seriously player welfare is taken from the AFL down to the clubs and obviously the PA. So there's no doubt there's great support around for the players. I think one of the messages we preach is balance for the athletes so that they don't attach their whole being to being footballers. And I think, my experience, and before footy I was in cricket, is if if players have that life balance so that when things don't go their way, they've got something else they can turn to or get involved in. I think that's really important too.
Now, Paul Salmon, I know you have to go, but before you do, I want to talk about Wear for Success.
Thank you.
What is it? What's it about? And what are you trying to achieve?
Wear for Success is a wonderful not-for-profit organisation that prepares long-term unemployed for the workforce, dresses them essentially, so clothes them, puts a suit on them. Wear for Success is a brother to Dress for Success, which is the ladies' version. So they do a great job in not only dressing these people that have been out of the workforce for a long time, but also preparing them for their job interviews and helping them skill them up, and also supporting them through the important first few weeks with more clothes. So we're doing over 1,000 people a year now. It's growing all the time, and these are people that are referred by employment agencies or welfare agencies, so they need all the help they can get. And Wear for Success, WEAR for success.org.au is the website, and it's worth having a look at because I just was really drawn to the work they do to help people get back in employment. So
you're an ambassador for Wear for Success. What attracted you to it in particular? Why did you choose that cause to support?
It appealed to me because I've been in my own business since I did my knee, and I stopped trusting football as my career. I bought my first business when I was 20, so I've been an employer for many years now, and you know what first impressions mean when you're actually receiving a job interview. And I think it's really important that these people walk in the room feeling like they belong in the first place. So I thought, the contacts I've got and the relationships I have maybe can add some value.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. I know we need to let you go, but it's very good of you.
Thank you. Go Hawks.
Paul Salmon, former star player at Essendon and Hawthorn, and as he said, ambassador for Wear for Success on the website www.wearforsuccess.org.au on 774 ABC Melbourne. It's 11:30. Now, Paul Marsh, Chief Executive of the AFL Players Association, is also still with us. Now, you came from the Australian Cricketers Association. Are there things that translate across the sports that you can bring to football?
Oh, look, definitely. I mean, a lot of the issues are the same, and our core purposes, I think, are around player development and well-being, and that's very similar no matter what the sport. A lot of the community work that both sports do is important. Obviously one of our core purposes is to negotiate collective bargaining agreements on behalf of the players. That's very similar. So there's lots of similarities. There's some differences. Cricket's obviously an international sport, so a lot of the stuff is very, very similar.
What do you see as the big challenges coming up over the next 12 months in this new role?
Oh, there's lots of challenges, and I think at the moment I'm very focused on getting to build relationships throughout the industry, and I've spent a lot of time doing that, understanding the players and what their issues and concerns are, and then I guess it's getting down to resolving issues. There's a very high profile issue that we're working through at the moment, but that's the nature. There will be ongoing issues every day to deal with, and then we've got a collective bargaining agreement that we need to do with the AFL coming up. Probably the other thing too is the players have told me that they want a stronger voice around issues that affect them. So that's going to be a big focus also.
Is that like in regards to, say, free agency, which was once something that you never would have heard in AFL football? Players now can actually choose a club that they want to go to. They don't have to go through if their deal is up. Do you guys have a big role to play in that?
Yeah, well, I mean, the AFLPA has got a form of free agency in. It's still pretty restrictive on the players. I mean, they need to have been in the system for 8 years before they can start to exercise that right, which, when you think about it, it's a huge restriction on an employee. I mean, we don't have to wait for 8 years before we can change employers. So, there's a lot of talk around it, but I think the players have been very reasonable in what they've accepted to this point.
Well, it seems like it's the downside of only having one league. Like, I try to look at the example in European football, where there's so many leagues, so many different places players can go to earn, and agents making so much money, whereas the AFL is really an island, essentially, and if you want to live on that island, you have to abide by the rules. But it's great to see players getting more power, because that's really who people are coming to see.
And just on that note, Lenny Hayes has joined us in our tent here at Federation Square. Lenny, of course, a former St Kilda great who has just retired. Very good of you to come and talk to us.
No, thanks for having me.
And you've released a terrific book, Lenny, My Story, which I've had a good look at, and I think it goes to some of the issues that we're talking about. I mean, you talk a lot about the coaching and the support that you had as a young guy coming into the game, and the ups and downs that you went through, your expectations of yourself, which, to be honest, I think extraordinarily high. You're not overly complimentary about yourself, but obviously all of that stuff was very important to you as you were coming through into the league.
Yeah, certainly, and I think the support around players is better than ever. When I first got to the club, our main recruiter was John Beveridge. He was also the player welfare manager. So when I first got to Melbourne, he drove me around, showed me where I was going to stay, and he probably filled about 4 or 5 roles. But the staff within football clubs has grown. And certainly the support, and through the AFLPA as well, the support's better than ever, and it's only going to get better as well. There's a lot more options out there for players to do something outside of football as well, and I think that's something that has gotten a lot better over my career, certainly.
What about you? Grew up in Sydney, obviously. To see the Swans, if they win tomorrow, to be a 3rd premiership within 9 years. How much has AFL Aussie rules changed in Sydney in the time since you were a little boy out in the backyard kicking the Sherrin around?
Yeah, it's grown a lot. I think it's fantastic. Now with 2 teams up there as well, there's more opportunities for young guys coming through within the system. And look, I hope they get the win tomorrow. I've got a couple of boys, Kieran Jack and Jared McVeigh, who played at the same local football club as me at Pennant Hills, and we've produced a few AFL players up there, so it's going to be great for Sydney and for AFL if they do get the win. A little bit jealous though, like we played in a few grand finals and didn't get one, but it would be good to see them win. Hope it's a good game.
You played in 3, I hate to remind you, 1 draw and 2 losses. What's the overwhelming feeling and sense at this time of year? Do you reflect on missed opportunity, or do you just genuinely get excited being here? The sun's out and everyone's talking footy. Yeah,
it does. It brings back a lot of memories. There's something really special about grand final week, and I'm really thankful that I got the opportunity to play, because not a lot of players do. I mean, if we look at the last sort of 10 or 15 years, there's probably been 6 clubs that have won grand finals. The Swans are going for their 2nd or 3rd, Hawthorn. So it's a great week. I mean, the sun's out, the weather's nicer. It brings me back to when we had our open training session down at Moorabbin. There was probably 10,000 fans there, and that's what's really special. It's a great game. It's inclusive. I don't enjoy the last 10 minutes of a grand final, because it brings back all those feelings. There's a winner and a loser, and well, unfortunately for us, we had a draw. So, but yeah, that's the hard time, I think, when you've lost grand finals and you know that someone's going to win, and there's a bit of jealousy there, but also a bit of empathy for the team that is going to lose, because I've been in that situation. I know how hard it is.
What was it like? I was at that drawn grand final, and on one level, as I'm a Carlton supporter, I was fairly neutral, though I love the Saints. First and foremost, there's so many people who love St Kilda. Like, it's kind of everyone's second team. What's it like inside St Kilda Footy Club? What's the club like? How is it different than other clubs? I guess you haven't played for others, but...
No, I haven't. But I think with all footy clubs, you meet great people, and I think that's the thing about that I take away from St Kilda. There's so many good people involved, and I'm sure every footy club's the same. I think we're probably everyone's second team, because we've only won 1 premiership in a bit over 100 years. So I think a lot of people would like to see us win one. Hopefully it's not too far away. But look, I feel pretty blessed to have played 16 years at a top-level sport, a sport that I grew up loving, and I got paid to do it. So I had a pretty good run, and I just hope for the club's sake, I hope we can get back to Junction Oval, right in the heartland of St Kilda, and we get back there and we build the club back up to what it should be, and hopefully playing finals in a few years.
That's great news that's happening, that they're bringing the club back to St Kilda again. I just think it's awesome. That's a really important thing, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think it is. I think, look, there's no disrespect the facility down at Seaford's fantastic, but I just think being involved in the club, to get back to our heartland where, you know, we used to play football there, years and years ago, and had some real success around that period as well, and I think it'd be fantastic for everyone, in that area.
Paul Marsh, I just wanted to raise some of the other things Lenny brings up in the book. And I mean, one thing that I think was interesting is that, St Kilda was going through a hard time in some ways, and also reputationally difficult time, getting a lot of criticism in the media about sort of bad boy behaviour and things like that. And Lenny was viewed by the coaching staff as the sort of one who had his head screwed on, along the lines of, well, yeah, if Lenny's there, it'll be okay. Sort of keep it under control. Yeah, there's a few hints that that might have been an allusion to some degree. But, I mean, to what extent can the Players Association work with and use experienced guys and retired guys like Lenny to actually mentor some of these younger men that are coming through?
Oh, yeah, I think that's very important. I think, athletes probably value and get more out of peer messaging than any other form of, education. So I think that's critical. And, I think we're catching up with Lenny next week to have a chat about various things, but, that's something we should be talking to him about as well.
One thing that I found interesting, and I think this resonates with a few of the AFL players, is it your parents broke up when you were quite young.
Yep.
And you talk about the fact that football was something that you could throw yourself into at a difficult time. In fact, I think you said that maybe if your parents hadn't split up, you might not have gone on to play AFL football.
Oh, I guess it's one of those sliding doors moments, but yeah, for me, it was a real passion of mine from a young age, and I think when anyone is going through a difficult time, we've certainly experienced difficult times at the football club, but it's just something that you could put everything into, and I think that's what... the game's great on so many levels, but for me, at times it was an escape, and I think as a young person, there was nothing better than going and having a kick with your mates, and as I said before, I was so lucky that I was able to do that as a profession. But I think it enables people to express themselves. It brings a lot of people together as well. I think that's one of the best things about playing AFL and why the game's so great.
It is fundamentally, and getting back to talking about Sydney's success and why the game is... It's one of the greatest sports in the world. It's undeniable. It's only played in one country. There's so many possibilities. You can run one length of the ground to the other, and anyone can kick a goal from anywhere. It's a very physical sport, and yet it sort of rewards skills. Like, I'm a huge soccer fan. Like, I went to the World Cup in Brazil this year, saw Australia play Holland, and I just kept thinking, imagine if these Brazilians played AFL. And so I do the same thing when I go to the States. And the fact is that it's a well over 100-year-old sport. It's as old as... In a different world, I'd love to see a movie where you woke up and footy was everywhere in the whole world, Maybe we would be the best then. No, we'd still be the best. But I
think
fundamentally believe it's a great game.
I actually think differently to you. I think if Aussie rules didn't exist, imagine what our Socceroos side would be like.
Oh, totally, yeah. Well, look, they're doing pretty well. Look how good they are anyway. And a lot of those guys are footy fans as well, so... Like, to be a country that has 4 big codes and do so well in all of them, it's pretty amazing,
Lenny, you're a tackling machine. You've got the record. You finished the career with the most tackles ever in the history of the game. Tomorrow's 2 big tackling sides. How do you see it unfolding? Who's your tip for tomorrow? And
yeah, I think Sydney will win. I think it's going to be very close. I think for me, they know each other so well, these 2 teams, and they're so evenly matched across the field. There's so many elements of this game are going to be great to watch. How's Buddy going to go against his old team? Is the pressure going to get to him? He could be the match winner, as we know he can be. The midfield's going head-to-head, and, what's Alistair Clarkson going to do about the 4 tall forwards? Are they going to drop Luke Hodge back, or Ben McAvoy's into the side? We know he can play that role. So I think Sydney will just win. If they both play their best footy, I think they're just slightly better. So I'm predicting maybe a 2-goal win, and Josh Kennedy for Norm Smith.
It's no disrespect to Port Adelaide, Paul, but it's great to see the 2 best teams in the grand final. I know we were always robbed of that great Essendon versus North Melbourne grand final that never happened, where Carey versus Hurd, and Carlton would always knock Essendon down. It's great, and then get flogged by North. But it's great for the spectacle of the game to see these 2 giants playing against each other. But I actually think it's whoever kicks the most accurately will win. Unless it's a wet game and that goes out the window, it's nearly always down to accuracy. And it's strange in this sport of like hard at the ball that the set shot for goal is still so important, and your ability to convert is, the difference between good and great.
774 ABC Melbourne, and this is the Conversation Hour live from Federation Square today. It's absolutely fantastic to have your company. With me, Cram from Spiderbait, Kelly Underwood, ABC Grandstand host extraordinaire, Paul Marsh from the AFL Players Association, and Lenny Hayes, St Kilda champion, who's just released a book called Lenny, My Story. On 774 ABC Melbourne, it's 18 to 12.
Libby Gore.
To be a specialist in snot, is there a caste system in terms of specialities?
Well, I'm really a virologist, but I'm not a snotologist.
Why does it just keep coming, the snot? You get rid of it and then it comes back.
Well, the body probably produces something like a litre of mucus every day.
It's disgusting.
And you don't notice it because it goes down the back of your throat.
Breakfast with Libby Gore on 774 ABC Melbourne. I'll be back next week.
Conversation.
Live from Fed Square for Grand Final Eve.
And Paul Marsh from the AFL Players Association has left us. Many busy things to do the day before the grand final, and it is a sparkling day here in Melbourne. The grand final parade kicks off in about 15 minutes' time. It leaves from outside the Arts Centre and will move through the city up to Treasury Place, where the captains of the two competing clubs will display the Premiership Cup that they will be trying to win tomorrow. And really great to have your company today. Lenny Hayes, I did enjoy your book, particularly for the mentoring reasons that I talked about, but also I thought you had an uncanny memory, because there really is a lot of detail about a lot of the early matches that you played.
I had a lot of help. Yeah, my memory isn't the best. I think I've probably been hit over the head a few too many times. So I did rely on teammates and obviously a few other people who've worked at the club for a long time. John Beveridge being one who's just got an unbelievable memory. So, I did have a lot of help. Jason Phelan had a big say in the book and helped me through it. So, it was good. It was a good experience. It wasn't something I ever thought that I'd do, but after talking to a few people who had done them, and also I've got a 9-month-old son, so he's never going to remember me playing, so I'll be able to, when he's 10 years old and not listening to me, I said, have you got a book, mate? Well, I do, so go and do what you're told. Be able to tell him how good I was.
A lot of the great players we see, so when they retire, they want to go straight into coaching, because I remember talking to Nathan Buckley about this once. It was the closest he could get to his weekly fix of missing being out there and actually playing. So they just make that transition straight into coaching. Lenny, I know a lot's been said in the media about the thought that you would just instantly go straight into coaching, but you've had a change of heart around that. Tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, look, I guess I was thinking along the same lines as Nathan, is that you've played the game for so long, you know the game pretty well. It seems quite natural to go into that space, but I think I'm probably better suited to the business or administration side of football, so I'm thinking that's a path I'm going to go down. I had done a few coaching courses and my level 2 and all those sort of things, but I couldn't see myself being a senior coach. I think it's incredibly demanding, and you got to be half nutty, I think. So,
and even not just for a senior coach, it's a massive commitment to be an assistant coach. Long days, weekends you're travelling, you're there 5 days a week if you've got a young family. I know I've spoken to Ty Kennelly about this recently as well, is that it's just a huge commitment when you do have a young family.
Yeah, it is, and I mean, we've given up our weekends for the last 16 years, so I think my wife's pretty keen on having me around a little bit more, but it is. It's very demanding these days, and part of me just next year wants to enjoy my footy as well, and it's you look at it differently as a coach and as a player. I'll sit at home watching Foxtel the night before I play, and I'll be pausing, rewinding, seeing where teams are setting up, what they're doing, and it'd be nice just to watch a game of footy and enjoy the big marks and the goals and some of the stuff that you did when you were a kid, a bit more pure.
Yeah, just enjoy it for the actual beauty of the game and the enjoyment of the game rather than worrying about it.
Yeah, exactly.
I was just going to ask, with regards to coaching, it's funny when you first get into footy as a kid, it's all about the players. But I kicked this amazing goal, it's Jimmy Cracker or whoever it is. Once you get older, you start to understand and really respect and become fascinated by coaches and coaching, and they become these larger than life figures, and they're not always the same type of personalities. They've got this aura about them, and I just wondered if there's any guys that you played with that are likely to become coaches, young guys you might have seen, or older players you played with, that just have something about them that kind of makes you feel like other guys will want to follow them?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's a great point, because I think the best coaches that I've played under obviously been very good tactically, but they're man managers. They know people, and I think that's the key to being a good coach, is that you know how to motivate different guys. We're all different, and it's no different to being in business or at school if you're a teacher or all the rest. So there's been a number of guys. Robert Harvey's doing some stuff at Collingwood, and he's the sort of guy who knows his footy really well. He's a really good person, so I could see him being a senior coach. I'm not sure whether he's quite ready for that yet, or if he's putting his hand up for jobs. But another guy, I think Nick Rewalt, he could probably do anything. He's a very smart guy. He loves his footy. I'm not too sure whether he'd go down that path either. We played a lot of footy under Ross Lyon, and he's been notorious for working his assistants quite hard. So whether that's put guys off that I've played with going into coach, I'm not too sure. But yeah, there is. You're right. There's a certain aura that the good coaches have, and no doubt, even when Ross first started, but by the end of his 5 years at St Kilda, he was a much better coach than when he first started. He knew how to motivate people, as I touched on before. It's a real art, coaching.
I always use the example, refer to European football, and like I was saying to Fish before about Alex Ferguson and guys like Jose Mourinho. And there's something about these. They're not always ex-players either. There's just something about their ability to manage the players, create something within the club but they've got to have the tactical nous and the ability to work with the boardroom as well. It's no wonder it's such a stress, and not everyone wants to do it.
It's a lot of layers of skills, isn't it?
Yeah. And if you have a look at the two coaches tomorrow, two very different type of coaches. I mean, Alistair Clarkson is intense and he's demanding, and John Longmire has taken the honesty policy that Paul Roos put in place to a whole new level. The players say he's an excellent man manager, and he gives them ownership. He empowers them to go out and play the very best that they can.
So look at John Longmire, so often living in the shadow of Wayne Carey as a key forward. I never would have imagined that he would become this incredible coach, and he's almost more larger than life, more imposing a personality as a coach than he even was as a player, and he's such a huge guy. And I think he's done brilliantly.
Yeah, he has.
You talk in the book about the different coaches that you played under. I mean, was there a commonality in their personalities, do you think, or were they all quite different?
They're all very different. I mean, my first coach was Tim Watson, and he's even probably said himself he wasn't quite ready for the role, but he was a great person. We then had Malcolm Blight, who thought about the game differently to most people. He didn't last all that long either, unfortunately. Grant Thomas was the best man manager that I've been involved in. He really brought us together as a group. And then obviously I've touched on Ross, and look, Alan Richardson, who's at the club now, has done a long apprenticeship. I think he's going to be there for a long time. So they've all got a few similarities, but are all quite different at the same time.
It's having that ex-St Kilda factor that Grant Thomas had. Did that have an effect? Like, is it important to a club like St Kilda that someone from, the family comes to coach and does well? Is it that type of environment in regards to Grant Thomas?
Yeah, I think where we were at that time, he was great for the club because he was so passionate about the place, and we'd had we'd had Tim, and then 2 years later we had Blighty for half a year, and then Grant came in under probably different circumstances. He was quite close mates with Rod Butters, who was the president at the time. So there's a little bit of controversy about that, but what he did, we had quite a young group and then a few champions of the club, but he just brought everyone together. And we were around at his place all the time. He'd have, but he has 8 kids, but he'd have 30 other guys coming around. He'd open his house up, and it sort of made me realise what a football club should be like under him. And I think we probably had success, relative success, 2004. Only 2 years after he took over, we played in a prelim. It was probably a little bit before our time, but I put it down to Grant, and the way he brought everyone together has been a big part of that.
I've got to ask, Kelly, we were talking about what the new Adelaide Oval has done for Adelaide, and just that one thing can do so much for a place. What would it do and we've seen with Geelong what happened in Geelong when Geelong finally won that premiership? What would it do to St Kilda to win that premiership? Like, it would be amazing.
It'd be huge. It'd be scary.
And you could change.
I'd fear for people's safety in Melbourne the week after we win.
I remember I was catching a bus through Victoria Park when Collingwood won in 1990. That was our bus nearly ended up on its side. So I just think it'll be the same.
Well, let's pick this conversation up in a moment. But it's 9 to 12. Sorry, on 774 ABC Melbourne, and we need to cross to ABC Grandstands. Drew Morfitt, who's out in the middle of the crowd at the AFL Grand Final Parade. Hello, Drew.
Hey, Zoe. It's fantastic. It is just wonderful. It is warm. It is sunny. It is still. There's tens of thousands of people here at the top of Collins Street on the steps of Treasury Place. It's sensational. And I'm standing alongside Swans Premiership legend Ty Connelly, and he said in Sydney they just couldn't do this. You could put on a parade for the NRL and they wouldn't turn up in the same numbers. There is something special about Melburnians. They will turn up for things like this.
Melburnians definitely embrace Grand Final week. There's no doubt about that. What's the prevailing colour scheme, Drew?
Well, they've sort of divided them here. And there's Swans red and white to one side and Hawthorn black and gold to the brown and gold to the other side. Now, down Collins Street, you've got the mixture. I would say, I'm surprised as a matter of fact, because I'd say that Swans aren't being dominated here by Hawthorn colours, because there's still the South Melbourne push, and there's plenty of South Melbourne fans of old who have still followed the Swans after they went to Sydney. So I'd say it's a pretty even push at the moment from what I can see.
And who's your tip for tomorrow, Drew?
Well, I'm going for the Swans. No big deal. They're the favourites. I just think that they're in better form. I know that they only beat North Melbourne last week, so it was 1 beating 6 on the ladder, and they flogged them pretty easily. Buddy was in awesome form, but the whole team was in awesome form for the whole game. Hawthorn they had the game won. Whether they put the handbrake on, I'm not sure, but they only fell over the line. If the game had gone about 2 more minutes, Port Adelaide would have beaten them, I reckon. So just going on form. I know that they've won 1 each during this season and all that sort of stuff, but in recent form, that's what counts to me. And in recent form, I've got to go for Sydney.
Drew, enjoy the parade and have a great call tomorrow.
Thanks. I'm looking forward to it. It is just a wonderful time to be in Melbourne.
Can't argue with that. Drew Morfitt will be calling the game alongside Gerard Whateley tomorrow at the G, and Drew was on the steps of Old Treasury Place waiting for the Premiership Cup to arrive, and the parade begins in about 5 or so minutes and will end at Treasury Place at 1 o'clock.
Do you know one colour, Zoe, I did spot this morning around Federation Square was purple.
Yeah, a lot.
There's quite a few Dockers fans here, which is telling
here.
me
they just haven't gone back.
They haven't left. 12 months on. Well, I was more thinking, Lenny, that they got excited around 20, 21, 22, and they booked their tickets to Melbourne, and now all they can do is come to Fed Square and try and soak up the atmosphere.
It's a great place to be, no matter what your colours. You know?
It could be worse. Now, let's pick up where we left off, because I just want to relate a quick story about the 2009 Grand Final. I was living in Cambodia at the time with my young family. It was my daughter's first birthday. My husband is a lifelong St Kilda supporter, but my father played for Essendon, so I demanded that our kids must go for the Bombers. But when that birthday fell on a day that St Kilda was playing in the Grand Final, I had to agree that if you won, she could barrack for the Saints. Now, of course, you didn't win. And I do recall we were having a birthday party for our daughter that afternoon, and I had to go to my husband, who was lying on the couch crying, to say, I think you probably need to get up and get organised for the birthday party. But I just wonder, how do St Kilda fans feel right now? Do they feel that that window has been missed? As you said, 1 premiership, it seems to be that the sliding door closed. Unfortunately, you didn't go through it, and now back at the bottom of the ladder.
Yeah, we are. Can I just ask first, how did he watch the game, or was he just on the internet? Or?
No, on the Australian network, which will be no longer very shortly, probably after this weekend. But yes, we were able to watch in Southeast Asia AFL on Australian network via ABC.
Good. Yeah, it was a tough day. Yeah, I feel for the Saints fans who've been, so loyal for such a long time. So we are probably back to where we were when I first started. And as I said before, it can turn pretty quickly. We've got some good young guys into the club. It's going to take a couple of years, but obviously Rui's still playing some really good football.
Amazing
football.
Yeah.
So he's leading the team really well. But part of that is, I guess, the window shut on those teams from from that era, and it seems so long ago now, but it's only 4 or 5 years. But yeah, hopefully we'll be back up there soon.
Do you think about it much, Lenny? Do you sort of catch yourself at the traffic lights and the mind's wandering to the last minute of 09?
I initially, after those grand finals, you'd see those stickers on the back of cars, and that used to drive me insane, like the Collingwood and Geelong stickers. But you tend to reflect quite a lot during this week, but it's more so on the day. That's when I get that overriding sense of, you know, it's the ones that got away, and I feel probably more like the 09 one was. I thought we were probably the best team all year, along with Geelong. But we won 19 in a row. We had such a good run. We felt like every game we rocked up to, if we play anywhere near our best, we'll win. And
they were
like
close games.
Yeah, they were.
They were incredible. You can't get closer than a draw, man. Like, it's an amazing achievement.
And like you said before, we missed a lot of shots that day. So I think you're spot on. The accuracy is a huge part of it. But I'm also thankful for the chance to play on that day, because every player wants to play grand final day, and a lot of guys don't. Like, look at a guy like Matthew Richardson that never got the chance. He hardly played in finals. So I feel lucky as well.
St Kilda's a lot more successful than Richmond or say Footscray, or like you're talking about a club that consistently make grand finals, even though they didn't win. It's to be commended, to be celebrated, and eventually that win will come. You can't be relegated from the AFL.
Will be crazy.
Benchmark is the number of cups that you have in the cupboard, I suppose.
It is.
As much as I agree with what you're saying.
Go back to the 70s, and it's like there's no finals appearances. There was nothing. The club has actually rebuilt itself. I've got before we finish, I got my friend Reece Muldoon is a huge St Kilda fan and said to say hello to you. Reece, love you.
He's a good man.
But I think it's the Saints are now, this year not so much, but every few years they're a player, and that wasn't the case 20 or 30 years ago.
Did you ever consider leaving St Kilda?
No, I didn't. The club were always good to me, and I always sort of signed up halfway through a contract, and free agency wasn't around when I was probably at my peak, so I've missed the boat there a little bit. But I think once you get involved in a club, and as I said before, you meet the people and you come through with a group of players, it was never really a thought for me.
Oh, well, look, you did very well, and your book is
you.
exceptional.
Thank you for having me.
It's really been great to have you, and look, thank you, everyone, for being here today. Are you going to the match tomorrow?
Yes, I am. Yep, can't wait. I'm picking the Swans, but once again, it's going to be one of those really close games. Whoever kicks, I think the most accurately will probably win, but it could be one of those just one moment. I mean, we've seen in games in recent times where the turnaround can be like 6, 7, 8 goals in a quarter, so it's anyone's game. May the best team win. I'd love to see someone kick a torp from the centre to win the grand final after the siren. That's what I want to see.
Yeah, I'm with you on that.
Someone kick a torpedo. I want to see it, or a drop kick.
Bring on the close one, I say. What about you, Kelly?
Yes, I'll be there. I'm working with ABC Grandstand, and I'm down for the Sydney Swans rooms afterwards. So I'm quietly hoping the Swans win, Zoe, because it's a lot easier to cover the celebrations.
You'll be
compared to the losers. I've done the losers a few times. I remember doing the losers in 2005 when Ben Cousins walked in with the Eagles and slammed his fist into the wall, and it wasn't a great memory.
I agree. Better to be on the winning side, I think, when you're covering it as a journo. It's been great to have your company this morning here from Federation Square. Thank you very much to Dan Ziffer, Andy Burns, Joe Sullivan, John Standish and Louise Fitzroy for the program help this week, and thanks to all of you for listening. Well, go Hawks, go Swans, or as we said, let's just hope it's a close one. Great to have your company today. 12 noon.
The Conversation Hour podcasts are available at abc.net.au/Melbourne. Subscribe now and you'll receive automatic updates with special guests, interesting interviews. It's a bit of fun. You'll be mad not to subscribe. abc.net.au/Melbourne.
Australia now unlikely to take part in airstrikes in Syria. Extra security at weekend footy finals, but patrons asked to be patient. And condemnation of the deal about to be signed to resettle asylum seekers in Cambodia. It's midday. Good afternoon. Helen Zaremus with ABC News. The Foreign Minister Julie Bishop says it's increasingly unlikely that Australia will be involved in airstrikes in Syria, given the growing size of the international coalition willing to launch attacks on Islamic State militants. Australian forces are in the Middle East preparing to join the US-led mission in Iraq. The federal government says it has no intention of taking part in airstrikes in neighbouring Syria, although it hasn't ruled it out. But Ms Bishop says more than 40 countries have joined the fight and some are willing to take action in Syria.
As more countries commit and as we see the Arab state countries are prepared to undertake airstrikes in Syria, then there's less of a need for Australia. So I'm hoping that that coalition holds. I have every expectation that it will.
The United States says it's much too early to say if the coalition it's leading is winning the fight against Islamic State militants in Syria and Iraq. Pentagon spokesman Rear Admiral John Kirby says the struggle's only just beginning.
This is going to take time. This is not a short-term effort. This organization is still, even after the hits they've taken, and they have been hit, they still have financing at their fingertips. They still have plenty of volunteers. They still have plenty of weapons and vehicles and the ability to move around.
Meanwhile, the FBI says it's identified the masked killer shown beheading 3 hostages in Islamic State militant propaganda videos. The Bureau's director, James Comey, says it did so with the help of international partners, but the announcements frustrated British security services. More from the BBC's Gordon Carrera.
The man's name, but he did say his bureau knew the name of the masked killer, whose accent has led to widespread speculation that he is a Briton. That frustration in London comes not because MI5 and the police here do not know the identity. They may well have known for weeks, but because their policy has been not to comment on a live investigation. Investigators here will have been wanting to gather as much intelligence on the man and his contacts without tipping their hand as to what they knew.
Back home, and Victorian police say the investigation into a shooting and double stabbing in Melbourne this week will take some months. 18-year-old Abdul Numan Haider was shot dead after stabbing 2 police officers on Tuesday night. Deputy Commissioner Graham Ashton says the investigation will focus on what radicalised the teenager. He says the young man's family is cooperating with police and wants the same thing.
They are very shocked, obviously, by what's happened, deeply saddened and shocked at the death of their son, and they particularly want answers as to how he has become radicalised to the point where he has done this act. They want answers, and certainly the community want those answers, and we'll be working to make sure that we provide those answers.
In news just in, police say a Defence Force member who claimed he was threatened and assaulted by 2 men in Sydney has withdrawn his allegation. The 41-year-old officer went to King's Cross Police saying he'd been threatened and assaulted by 2 men of Middle Eastern appearance at Bella Vista yesterday. Police say the man has since withdrawn his allegation and detectives are investigating why he made the claim. Last night, the Defence Department issued advice suggesting personnel use common sense when deciding where to wear their uniform. The federal government says sports fans can be confident police will keep them safe from terrorism attacks at the football finals. Police presence at this weekend's AFL Grand Final and NRL preliminary finals has been boosted after the public terror alert level was raised. The Attorney-General, George Brandis, says people should be vigilant about their safety, but not let fear deter them from enjoying the finals.
They should go about their ordinary lives. They should enjoy the grand final tomorrow. They should enjoy each other's company and each other's fellowship, knowing that the police and the other national security authorities are very, very skillful professionals who will keep them safe.
The commander of Operation Hammerhead for New South Wales Police, Assistant Commissioner Michael Fuller, has asked the public to be patient with increased security measures at football venues. He says police will be out in force and hundreds of extra officers can be available at short notice.
It's important this week with the football finals on that the public is reassured that police will be out in numbers in the Homebush area. And the public shouldn't be concerned about that, they should be reassured. Certainly in terms of the bag checks, they will continue. From our perspective, the less bags and things you bring will certainly make it easier before you get into sporting venues.
It's 5 minutes past 12. The Greens have disputed the federal government's assertion that today's deal with Cambodia to resettle refugees is truly voluntary. Anna Henderson reports from Parliament House.
The Immigration Minister, Scott Morrison, will formally sign the agreement with Cambodia later today. The Minister insists asylum seekers on Nauru will get to choose whether they take up the offer of resettlement in Cambodia.
No one's forcing anyone to go anywhere.
The Greens immigration spokeswoman, Sarah Hanson-Young, says it's not really a choice for detainees.
It's like the
school bully, asking whether you want a punch in the face or a kick in the guts.
The deal is worth $40 million to the Cambodian government over 4 years. Anna Henderson, ABC News, Canberra.
The state government is doubling the penalty for tampering with a car's odometer as part of a crackdown on the motor dealers and repairers industry. State political reporter Sarah Garathy.
The Fair Trading Minister Matthew Mason-Cox has announced that a new name and shame register for dodgy dealers and repairers will be set up so consumers can check if they have a current licence and whether they've had disciplinary action or offences recorded against them. Motor dealers will be required to disclose information about cars and trucks up for sale, including whether the vehicles suffered hail or flood damage or any major modifications have been made. Dealers or repairers who are found to have fiddled with a car's odometer will face a fine of up to $22,000, which is double the existing fine. The changes come into effect on the 1st of December.
The fight between Clive Palmer's Resources Company and its Chinese business partner has come to a head, with Mineralogy moving to terminate the partnership. More from finance reporter Elise Morgan.
Hostilities between Mineralogy and Hong Kong-based CITIC Pacific have been ongoing for several years. Clive Palmer claims he's owed hundreds of millions of dollars in unpaid royalties for the ore dug up by CITIC, but CITIC disagrees. Today, Mineralogy's terminated the company's licence to operate the partnership's $10 billion iron ore mine in Western Australia. Mr Palmer says it comes after talks broke down.
And none of those have produced any results in resolving the matter or remedying the breaches.
Mr Palmer says the action is nothing to do with the ongoing legal battles in which CITIC is accusing him of taking $12 million from a joint fund and using it to pay for his election campaign.
Sharp falls on global stock markets overnight are driving Australian shares lower. The All Ordinaries and the ASX 200 are both down 1% so far, with finance and mining stocks among those falling heavily. That's still a better result than in Wall Street overnight, where stocks fell more than 1.5%. Chris Weston from IG says concerns about Russia freezing foreign assets triggered the falls.
China's still going to be in the backdrop, but I think last night was driven predominantly by geopolitical concerns, and we'll just have to see how this all plays out. Geopolitical concerns obviously have been very short-lived in global markets, but we'll have to see if this one produces more of a long-lasting trend.
And the dollar's buying 88.1 US cents. Now with sport, Peter Lusted.
Roosters captain Anthony Meticello heads into what could be the final game of his 15-year NRL career this evening when his side takes on South Sydney in a grand final qualifier. Meticello admits his recent form has been below his usual standards, but says he's ready to bounce back.
I always set high standards on myself, and, you know, no one's perfect, everyone makes mistakes, but you got to learn from it and move on.
Canterbury says halfback Trent Hodkinson will play tomorrow night's grand final qualifier against Penrith, despite speculation he's in doubt with a knee injury. In the AFL, Swans youngster Harry Cunningham says it would provide another boost for the Code in Sydney if his team defeats Hawthorn in tomorrow's grand final at the MCG. The Swans will start as slight favourites for the decider. Cycling Australia CEO Nick Green says the retiring Cadel Evans has been a groundbreaker for Australians in the sport with his 2011 Tour de France win. Evans' last race is in February. And Australian fast bowler Mitchell Johnson has been ruled out of cricket's T20 Champions League with a rib injury. However, it isn't expected to prevent him playing in next month's series against Pakistan.
To the weather, isolated showers along the eastern side of the state's southern and central ranges. Fine and mostly sunny west of the Divide. Sydney fine for the rest of the day. Tomorrow the chance of showers and a top of 21. Right now 20 degrees in the city, humidity 50%. In the west it's 19 degrees. I'm Helen Zaremus, ABC News.
First goods, then Tippett, now Franklin. Sydney rolls out the heavy artillery.
Grandstand AFL.
Grandstand AFL. Jenna takes a bounce, cruises in and rams it home.
Welcome to Grandstand's coverage of the AFL Grand Final Parade.
And past the rough end, he tracks away from the middle, has a bounce, long kicks a goal.
On 774 ABC Melbourne and ABC Grandstand Digital.
We have the Grand Final long promised.
This is the AFL Grand Final Parade.
It's one of the days that offers a true glimpse into the heart of a city when tens of thousands have poured out into the streets of Melbourne for footy's trooping of the colours, if you will. The grand final participants paraded before the masses. before the combat that is that one day in September. Gerard Whateley with you at the steps of the old Treasury building at the mouth of Collins Street, with the fans of Sydney and Hawthorn lining the streets as the players are about to embark on this route. And one man who did it in consecutive years, a decade ago now, and was part of a premiership winning team, one of our absolute favourites on Grandstand AFL. He's here to share the journey not only today but tomorrow. Ty Kennelly. Ty, welcome.
Yeah, Gerard, thanks for having us. Look, it's great excitement. You know, I've been in Melbourne since Monday, but today certainly the excitement this morning, you know, the build-up is just fantastic. And Melbourne, better than any city in the world for me, just do it so good for a sporting event. It's none like it. You know, people question and ask, well, maybe I'd love to go to the Super Bowl, but anywhere in the world, and I'd say to people all over every time I meet, you got to get to grand final week, and you got to get to the grand final eve and the parade in Melbourne, because it's just incredible spectacle, and see the joy in people's faces and the events that are on. There's just so much on in Melbourne, and it's a great time to be in Melbourne.
Does it have the memories rushing back of a decade ago when we were walking up here?
Yeah, it does actually. I was just thinking I was actually okay till about 10-15 minutes ago, and I walked up here and I'm looking at people and I started getting a bit edgy. It was a strange feeling, to tell you the truth. I've been finished playing now for a couple of years, but I think just start thinking about the players, and my first thought was, when we came to the parade, you're like, well, I didn't want to do it. I was like, I want to get my routine, and it's an upset because players are so superstitious. But then you actually enjoy it. You just relax, and it takes your mind actually off the game, which is a good thing, because you could spend 24 hours before a game losing a lot of nervous energy. There's plenty of time to do that in the next 24 hours, really. But it's a moment where you really cherish. And your first time, you don't really enjoy it. You're kind of uptight, and you're trying to stay in the game and trying to stay focused. And the second time round, it's a totally different experience. Yeah. It's a totally different experience, and everyone that has done it a couple of times will tell you that, and both sets of players here have done it a few times. I think they'll be a bit more relaxed. You'll actually get a bit more from the players too. They'll almost give people a bit, and instead of being so serious and being all set on everything, they'll actually, I think you might see a few things happening from the players, because you get to enjoy it more, because you know exactly what the process is from here on in, and going through something once, obviously the second time round is a lot easier.
Drew Morford and I have done 10 of these together now, Drew. It's one of Melbourne's best traditions.
Yeah.
Oh, I absolutely love it. People get ready for the game the day before it happens. You know, people have got signs up, "Go you Goods thing," for Adam Goods, Australian of the Year. Everyone needs a Teddy. Teddy Richards has got his own banner going. Hawks fans over here are saying, let's go back to back. Well, they're going for back-to-back flags, but quite remarkably, they're in their third successive grand final. So 3 in a row in one of the hardest competitions in the world to win is fantastic, just on its own. Look, I look down Collins Street and there's bunting, and I look at buildings facing us here, and there's flags that coming from office terraces up there. The theme from the AFL this year is "Don't Go Quietly," and I'm thinking we're going to prove that during this broadcast. They won't be going quietly here today.
Okay, out on the streets for us, Adam White and Matt Clinch, where this starts at the Art Centre, works its way up Swanston Street, the turn into Collins Street, and then the presentation on the steps of Treasury. So we've allotted Adam White's with the Hawks. Let's start with Matt Clinch in the Sydney Swans stronghold.
Well, thank you, Gerard. It seems only right that we start with Sydney at the very start of the cars. Kieran Jack can join us on Grandstand AFL. Tell us what the last couple of days have been like.
Oh, look, it probably hit us yesterday afternoon when we got into Melbourne. There was a lot of media, a lot of fans there, but it was, I mean, as I said, it's great to be a part of, and you enjoy this time of year and this week, and that's what you've got to do. We've got a big job to do tomorrow afternoon, but at the moment we just enjoy the parade and really lock in tonight.
Is there a bit of pinching yourself from the crowd that was at the SCG at the start of the week to coming down and seeing so many red and white colours today?
Yeah, certainly. I mean, certainly a much bigger turnout than in 2012, and it's great to see red and white, and already here we're just at the start of the parade, and there's Swans fans everywhere, so it's it's great to see.
And from this moment on, once you get through the parade, is it sort of lock down and start to think about Saturday?
It is, yeah. I mean, we're, as I said, we'll enjoy the parade, enjoy what it is, and then this afternoon we get back to our hotel, get back to the sanctuary of our own little place, and then just start to lock in and really prepare for a massive game.
Enjoy today. Thanks for your time.
No, thanks a lot, Tuck.
Well, the coach of the Sydney Swans, John Longmire, can join us on Grandstand AFL. Excitement, nervous, anxious. You've got the kids in tow to keep track of as well today. What sort of emotion is it?
Oh, you really look forward to this. It's you don't get the opportunity to do it too often, so it's something the players and the kids really look forward to doing.
Having been through this before, does that help with telling your playing group what to expect?
Well, most of our playing group, we probably have 6 players that weren't part of it in 2012, but they know what it's about, they know to enjoy it. It's the same as Hawthorn. They've been the last 3 grand finals as well, so both teams have a bit of an idea what it's all about.
You've been a pretty settled side since the finals got underway. Do you feel like as each week and each game's gone past, the confidence of the group and the belief has continued to grow?
Yeah, I hope so. We think the players we've got right for tomorrow are ready to go, but we know very much that the work's very much in front of us. We've got 2.5 hours of the hardest work we'll have all year, and we need to be at our very best.
What sort of coach are you the night before? Can you switch off and relax, or are you the type who will fidget and maybe wake up and write a few things down?
Oh, not too bad. I mean, you hopefully you try and rely upon all the work and preparations done to this point. Usually what you do the night before the game doesn't have an effect other than you need to be able to relax, and that's what I try and do.
Good luck. Thanks for your time.
Thanks very much.
Well, Jarrad McVeigh, you've got your young daughter on your lap. What's it like to be a part of this moment and arrive in Melbourne and know that the countdown is on till Saturday?
Yeah, it's fantastic. Arriving last night at the airport, a lot of Swans fans there, really hits home that you're in the big one. And, this is an amazing day for everyone. All our fans get to see the players one last time before tomorrow, and we're really looking forward to the game, obviously.
And obviously being a family man, do you spend some time with them tonight, or when do you sort of go down to totally preparation for tomorrow?
Look, they're staying at a different hotel to the boys, so most of the guys can just go back to our hotel and relax. But we'll catch up with them today and then see them after the game.
I'm curious in terms of, you get the final word before the players break out into positions tomorrow. Do you think about what you say to the group?
A little bit. Look, we've obviously got a lot of leaders at this footy club who speak all the time, so it's just about those basics. And I do think a little bit about it just to see to try and fire them up.
And are you one who dreams of perhaps holding the premiership couple off, or at least watching one of your co-captains do so?
Oh, look, we're both equally part as captains, and look, as long as we get one of those medals, that's all we care about.
Terrific. Thanks, Jarrad.
Thank you.
The captains and the coach of the Swans as they're about to embark on the routes. The families are such a big part of this, and Drew Morford is down with one of the Swans families.
Well, one of the great stories of this grand final is Gary Rowan making the grand final for the Sydney Swans after an horrific broken leg. He missed it a couple of years ago, but he's in it this time. And his father, Jim's here with us live on Grandstand. Jim, it's been a pretty traumatic few years, hasn't it?
Yeah, it has for Gary. It's been a good outcome for today. Like, to see a kid come down the bloody parade like this has been really good. But prior to that, for 2 years, it's probably taken him a good 2 years to get over the broken leg. And probably
Anyway,
I can say
but your pride must be just jumping out of your shirt today.
Yes, very proud of him. But a lot of people probably hasn't realised what he's done to get there, to get to this stage, and it's a big stage. And I just hope he enjoys every moment of it, because he may never get another chance. And luckily enough, the Swans gave him that chance.
Beautiful. Well, I hope you enjoy it too. You're here with Mum, Gary's brother, a bit of a tribe.
Yes, we've got a pride come down.
Good on you. I hope you have a great day, and I hope Gary kills him in the grand final.
Thanks, Rick.
Thanks, Jim.
Of all that's been overcome, Tig, he's one of the best stories in the grand final, Gary Rowan.
Yeah, look, he came to the club with pick 6 and high hopes for him very, very early. And Gaz had struggled, to tell you the truth, to actually fit into the environment of being away from home, and he had a lot of homesickness. Obviously, the break in the leg didn't come at a time when he actually looked like he was starting to settle. And then that homesickness and everything was coming into question about, well, I want to go back to Melbourne. He's a Cobden boy from the middle of the country that absolutely loves football. Grand final day to him means more than anything in the whole world, and he would have dreamt and idolised this, and to see the success in the way he's played in the last couple of weeks. Freo, he wasn't great. He turned the footy over a lot, and his mind would have been questioning himself, his self-belief. And it was great to see the way he played in the preliminary final. And Gaz's attack on the football is just incredible for me. He's got that self-belief and doesn't question himself now, where in the past he would have a lot of questions about whether he belonged, because he goes into a room with Adam Goodes and he comes there and Buddy Franklin and these types, and he gets overawed because he's like they're his heroes as a young fella, and he comes to the football club, and it's just a great story, a great football story, and a great story for people in the country that if you have enough belief in your ability and who you are, you can get there. And the clubs and the Swans, for me, got to take a lot of credit for actually staying with him and giving him enough belief to actually overcome some of the issues that he had.
The Hawthorn side of things, the brown and gold have been such a permanent part of grand final parades, 3 in a row, but it stretches well back beyond that. Adam White is tagging the Hawks through the streets.
We've got Jordan Lewis here. Well, first of all, I've got to ask you about your leg. How is it? All good, all good.
What did you have to do yesterday? Did you have to do anything at all? Or was it just about just going out there and having a kick and enjoying yourself?
Yeah, I think it was just about, training purely. There wasn't any doubt whether, I suppose when it's an impact injury, you can't worry about a tear or the intensity that you go at. So it was about getting out there and having a kick and a catch. And, it was nice to actually have a run around.
Third time around in 3 years. Does it feel any different this time? It's almost like business as usual for you.
Yeah, it doesn't. We obviously know what to expect on a day like this. I suppose if you're coming here for the first time, you'd maybe be a little bit overawed by it, but we understand the process, and it's just good to be a part of it. You got to keep telling yourself that it's not every year that this will happen, so you need to enjoy every moment.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Jared Ruffhead's with us on ABC Grandstand. Jared, 6 last week. You're in good form going into the big one.
Oh, yeah, I suppose we've done all right. And, it's good to have a bit of form going into a game like this, and hopefully we can do it again tomorrow.
I remember you said to us on Grandstand about your forward line. Everyone's talking about the big forwards for the Swans, but you've got that sort of multi-dimensional forward line that you're confident that can get the job done tomorrow.
Well, yeah, I think we've scored the most in terms of goals and points for the year. So, we've been lucky enough that we've got, 5 or 6 blokes who can rotate through and kick goals, and hopefully it's the same tomorrow.
Do you enjoy today, or you just want tomorrow to come?
No, you're going to enjoy today. We're lucky enough. We've been here a few times now, but, who knows if this is the last time we're ever going to get a chance. So we've got to enjoy it because, it's a big part of footy, and that's how we do it.
Good luck tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Okay, we've got Matt Suckling here, and Matt, you missed it last year. You're not missing it this year. That must be a real relief for you.
Yeah, very happy. Very happy to be sitting here after last year, and I suppose even to a lesser extent 2012 having a loss. But just really excited about tomorrow.
Do you feel like you're going to appreciate it a little bit more, having been that spectator last year?
Maybe a little bit. I suppose I saw how excited and happy the boys were, and just the emotions they went through last year, and it's been a little bit of a driving factor, as it would be for anyone else. So yeah, I'm just really excited about tomorrow.
And you had that little speed bump about 5 or 6 weeks ago, but you got through okay through the final series, and you're ready to go.
Yeah, it was a little bit of a speed up I didn't really want, but had a couple of weeks off, and was lucky enough to get backed in by the coaches and players last week to come back in for a prelim and get through all good.
Great to see you out there. All the very best tomorrow.
Cheers, thanks mate.
How it would sit with those who have waited through years where the clubs have been successful and haven't been able to be part of grand finals and premierships, and obviously Matt Suckling's one of those, Ben McGlynn on the other side of things. This would be so fulfilling.
Oh, incredible. And another one, Matt Spanger. Matt Spanger, It was 2006 part of the West Coast squad missed out. 2012 the Sydney squad. 2013 Hawthorn. He probably thought I've missed my opportunity, So these stories are the ones where these moments, they'll be cherishing it and absolutely loving it. But they'll be so nervous compared to the rest of the group, and you'll be able to see that in them, and they can actually look at these guys. I know in 2006 there was Malcheski, Richards, a couple of the boys actually hadn't been in the 2005 part of it, and McVeigh, and they were so extremely nervous in the whole process. But it's a moment where you go, God, I've made it. And because of the nervousness of not actually making and being part of the grand final itself, they won't be happy until on the ground.
There are 44 players. They are not all equals, Tyke. I've never quite seen a build-up to a grand final revolve around one man. We'll discuss him in a minute. Matt Clinch is out with Lance Franklin.
Well, Lance Franklin can join us on ABC Grandstand. Buddy, back into another grand final. What has the week been like?
It's been a really good week. I think the boys have had a really good build-up to this game, and we got down yesterday. Trained up in Sydney, and then got down yesterday, and it's been a slow build-up, but it's been a really good build-up for the boys, and I think we're really pumped to have a really good game tomorrow.
What have you enjoyed the most about the week? Obviously the Brownlow on Monday night, and then once you get to this stage, you get to almost focus on Saturday.
Yeah, it's had the Brownlow Monday night, but it's been a good week of training. I think definitely Tuesday, Thursday were really good sessions for the boys. So as I said, we're really confident in going to the game, and we know that we're going to have to play our best footy to get over the line tomorrow. But we're really excited to get out there.
And seeing the Sydney supporters on one side, the Hawthorn on the other, you're even getting some feedback from Hawks supporters as you go by as to what to say to some of your old teammates.
Yeah, a little bit different feeling, but I'm really excited by the game. Can't wait.
So let's say Josh Gibson comes to you first at the opening bounce. Who's more likely to sledge, you or him first?
Don't know, mate. We'll see what happens.
Thanks, buddy.
No, don't.
So Lance Franklin, Ty, Is he the most famous footballer of our lifetime right now?
I think the fascination with this bloke nationally, not just in Sydney, not in Melbourne, but all over the country, the fascination with him and what's he doing? What's Buddy Franklin doing right now? Where is he? The fascination with this, and I think it's because of the media, and there's so much more media now, and there's so many more outlets that what he's been able to do in Sydney, I think the Sydney Swans as a club underestimated him as a celebrity and what he's brought to the football club. You know, you had likes of Tony Lockett and obviously Barry Hall and key position players, but this guy's just taken it to a whole new level. I think the club as a whole underestimated. I think they've embraced it now. In the past, I think the club would have tried to hide, play the underdog, play the safety net. Now with this guy and the celebrity status that he's got brought to the club, you got to open up the place to the media. You got to open it up, and it's a different feel to the club now because of what he's brought and what Buddy Franklin, the person and the brand, brings.
Let's head out into the streets here at the mouth of Collins Street with Drew Morford.
Thank you, Jared. What a thrill this day is for a bloke named Peter Burgoyne. Senior. Peter Senior. Now, he played for Adelaide, and so short, of course, and short for the Hawks. I know this radio cutting out. I'll try and stay rigidly still. Pete, must be very exciting for you.
Yeah, it's Sean's actually his 5th grand. And it's very exciting to come over and watch it again. Just hope it's going to be the same result as last year.
He's in an amazing position where he's played in premierships with 2 different teams. You were over here in 2004 to see Port Adelaide.
I was here for that historical moment. Their first flag ever. Port
Yeah. Your boys have given you a lot of happiness, I'm tipping.
A lot of happiness, especially when I played football myself. Sean's just going year by year now, so I'm just waiting for my grandsons to start in the next few years.
Another generation coming through.
I've got about 9 of them.
Oh, have you? Really? Where do you live? You're still in Adelaide?
Adelaide, yeah, I live in Adelaide, but I work up at Roxby Downs.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a long way to come for a game of football, but well worth it when your son's playing in the granny.
Yeah, well, it's only once a year that it happens, so you've got to put the time and effort in. Very costly, but they're the sacrifices you've got to do for your kids.
Good on you, Peter. Thanks very much for talking to us, and all the best for the weekend.
No worries, go the Hawks.
I bet all those Burgoyne grandkids can play too.
Oh, can you imagine them running around? Oh, they're breathing.
Who's got dibs at them, I wonder? Adam White's with the Hawks and with Sean Burgoyne.
Okay, I've got Sean Burgoyne here. Sean, 12 or 13 grand finals you played in?
No, not quite. This is the 5th, so I've been pretty lucky so far in my career.
Obviously, Hawthorn's played in a lot of grand finals recently, but do you think your experience helps on grand final day personally?
Yeah, I definitely think some form of experience is a good thing. We've got a number of players, obviously, who've been there the last couple of years, and hopefully we can use that to our advantage for tomorrow. But in saying that, Sydney they were here 2 years ago as well, so it's pretty evenly matched.
It's obviously hard to predict, but how do you feel the team is going into the grand final tomorrow from a form point of view?
Yeah, no, we've obviously got a full list to pick from, and there's some hard luck stories to go with that. But yeah, we're very well shaped to go in, full of confidence, and the 2 best teams are there.
And what about, I know you don't play necessarily on Buddy, but you're going to be pretty close to him at times tomorrow, being one of the Hawks defenders. Have you got any special tricks up your sleeve?
No, not really. I think we just have to concentrate on the supply that gets to Bud. If we can stop that or limit to that, that's going to go towards our backs, actually nullifying all their forwards.
Enjoy the day, Sean.
Thank you.
We've got Jack Gunston here, one of the stars of last year's grand final. Can you go a little bit better this year, Jack?
Oh, hopefully. Looking to go out and play my role for the side, and if that's kicking a few goals, then it'd be nice. But all in all, hopefully the boys play well and we can get a win.
You obviously did it 12 months ago. Does it feel any different this time around for you?
I think coming into a new season, it's always a little bit different. You got new personnel around you and new guys on the coaching staff and whatnot. So it's always going to be a little different. You're obviously playing a different side. So it's been a good year, and hopefully we can go one similar to last year.
And from your own experience, just this week, have you felt that you've been a little bit less nervous because you did it last year?
I think what the club does well is they just prepare like any other week. I think so far this has pretty much felt like the only different thing, the grand final parade, and I'm sure now I know everyone's different and their nerves might start kicking in, but so far it's just been a normal week. It's just been good.
That was a balloon, by the way. And just also on Cyril coming back into the forward line, I would imagine that would make you happy as one of his fellow forwards.
Yeah, he's obviously a dangerous forward. We know what he can do with the ball, but it's his pressure without the ball. And with him and Pioppo up there, they're pretty dangerous combo, and also Luke Bruce. So we've got a great mix of forwards up there, and it's exciting to have him back.
Well, you were terrific last year. Hopefully you can be terrific again this year. Thanks, Jack.
No worries. Cheers.
Okay, we've got Cyril Rioli here. Cyril, you've made it, mate. You're going to play tomorrow.
Yeah, it's been a pretty stressful, time off. I think it's 13 weeks, so definitely grateful to be in this position.
When did you know that you were going to play?
Probably yesterday morning when Clarko put the squad up on the board, and like I said, truly grateful to see my name up on the board to be playing tomorrow.
So that's how it happened. You didn't have a chat to you. You had to wait for the board to actually put up on the screen.
Yeah, he did pull me aside and tell me that I'll be playing. So, but all the boys saw my name on the board, which was the first time they knew I was playing.
And you're confident that you're going to be able to not only play but be a bit of a difference tomorrow?
I'm just out there to play my role. So, if I do that tomorrow, hopefully we all do it and we'll get the win. But I'm just happy to be playing.
Were there times, Cyril, where you thought you might not have got to this point?
Oh, certainly. Times during rehab I thought I wasn't going to make it back, but, if I sort of did everything I could to get my hammy right, I sort of wouldn't be here, but, fully confident in my body.
Well done, Cyril. To get there, good luck tomorrow.
Thanks.
Cyril Rioli, who's been such a central figure in the build-up to it, and Ty, to hear him talk about the stress, it's not to be underestimated, is it?
Yeah, look, it's something you've built your whole life, your whole career, and you're trying to get to the pinnacle, and you're there. And like Cyril said, I think it was Cyril, when you actually hit the parade itself, it's the only moment that the game is different, and all of a sudden you just go, wow, it's the grand final. If you'd went to your hotel room in Sydney, probably would have arrived today, and they would have went to the hotel this afternoon, it would have seemed like another game. But the fact of the matter that you had the parade and the support, and you're getting interviewed the day before the game, it's very strange. And there's moments when all of a sudden you realise, it's a big game, but until that actually happens and you're put in that position, all of a sudden you start thinking about things and you're getting a small bit of nerves in your stomach. But it's the stress of performing on the big day. So many people have failed, and you're constantly thinking about, well, I don't want to be the one that costs us. I don't want to be the one that has an opportunity to win the game and I can't do it. I'm not going to choke. Now, footballers say they don't think about that. That comes into your head, and I think that's why the better players and the star players want the ball in their hand in those moments. There's such a difference between the players that want to take that or the ones that just shut down and try and stop their opponent. The difference is the Franklins, the Riolis that actually want that moment in their hands and take the game on, and that's what the pressure can do to you. And pressure is none like it. In a grand final, it's just incredible. Every ball and every single moment is just scrutinised tenfold compared to any other game. And we all know that, but it's coming, and you're trying to deal with that pressure before the game. And sometimes it actually can waste a lot of nervous energy, and I've seen a lot of players dealing with anxiety and the nervous energy. I remember Lewis Roberts-Thompson in 2005 had an incredible first half, and about 5 to 10 minutes in the second half, the third quarter, he's gone to me. I was playing on Hansen, and he's gone, I'm absolutely cooked. Can you go to him? Now, this is a time when there was no rotations or anything, and I ended up actually going over and standing on Hansen, and he was running around. What happened was Ben Cousins actually came forward, and I was supposed to take Ben Cousins, so Louis ended up doing it harder because Ben Cousins came as a half forward, and Louis had to take him while I was on Hansen. So, but those moments, and that was probably a build of excitement that Louis hit that game 100 miles an hour. And having said that, you almost need to try and plan it in a way. It's hard to do because you want to hit a grand final first 5-10 minutes 100 miles an hour, but guess what, you got two hours of this coming up, so, and it's just so different to deal with that pressure and the nervous energy that's hard to control sometimes because everyone's different and every individual is different. You got players that want to relax, you got players that want to have fun, you got players that want to get psyched up, so, and you generally hang around the ones that are similar to yourself.
The umpires have arrived up here and been presented to the crowd. Jonathan Brown, who's the ambassador for the Premiership Cup. The Brownlow medalist Matt Priddis and Lewis Taylor, the rising star from the Brisbane Lions. The Hawks are just getting to the top of the parade now. Let's rejoin the Swans with Matt Clinch.
Well, for people who don't have an AFL team playing tomorrow, perhaps Sydney might be their sentimental pick, and a lot of it's got to do with you, Ben McGlynn. People hoping to see you play in a grand final and do well. Have you felt that warmth over the last couple of days?
Yeah, look, definitely I've been very appreciative of all the messages and support I've got from friends and family, and then people outside of that as well. And I'm happy for it just to not to be about myself, but about the Swans, and if anyone wants to support Sydney, we'll definitely take the supporters.
We've had a couple of different experiences of grand final week. What's it like to head in knowing that you'll be playing and hopefully playing a big part?
Yeah, it's been pretty cruisy early part of the week up in Sydney, but landing in Melbourne last night, it's definitely started to sink in, and I'm just trying to enjoy it as much as I can. It's all the advice I've been given to the guys that have been there before, that just enjoy it, and don't take these for granted. And I know not to take these. I won't take this week for granted at all.
The stories about sleeping on Richie Vandenberg's floor. It seems a long time from that to a grand final week.
Yeah, it's been a long journey, but one I've really enjoyed, and obviously with Richie at the start, without his help, this probably wouldn't be possible. So very appreciative of what he was able to do early days, and he's still a good mate of mine, and I'm sure he's just as excited as I am this week.
Has he been in touch with you this week, or who surprised you, I guess, in terms of reaching out and just congratulating you on getting to a grand final?
Yeah, I spoke to Richie early in the week. We got our phone call out of the way, and there's been messages from home and people that obviously the social media is a good access these days, and I'm very humble and very appreciative of all the support I've gotten over the week.
So how many of the family are making up the trek, and how many tickets have you been harassed for?
All the immediate family are coming, and my fiance's family as well, so they're all making the effort, which is great. And a few other tickets for my mates, the blokes that I went through school with, so I didn't go outside of that, just kept it to a small group, so I didn't have to worry too much about that.
Well, congratulations, thrilled you're a part of it, and hopefully it's a Sydney win. Thanks for your time on Grandstand.
Thanks very much, man, appreciate it.
Well, Ben McGlynn's one of the sentimental stories of the week. I'm sure this man is as well. Gary Rohan, great to see you in a grand final, and geez, you've been through some heartache to be here. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. It's been a long road, but I finally got here and taken everything in, and hopefully it won't be the last.
When you went back to the reserves at the start of the season, did you wonder whether you'd be able to get the body completely right?
Yeah, when I got dropped back to reserves and trying to get some game into my legs and that kind of stuff, and the boys won 12 in a row, and I thought it's going to be hard to get back in, and if I did get back in, I played some pretty good footy in reserves and got the call up, and I've taken the opportunity and haven't looked back.
And obviously played some pretty good footy last week against North Melbourne. Did you sort of feel like that was one of the best games you played since having the operation?
I'd say it was probably my best game I played for the Swans, and just had a lot of confidence with the boys. Had confidence with me, and I was confident out there, and hopefully I can just do the same tomorrow.
We've seen Cyril Rioli and Lewis Jetta do a sprint down one side of the MCG. We wouldn't mind seeing you do one as well. Is that a bit of your role tomorrow, to just get as much dash off half back as you can?
Yeah, it's a role is to grab the ball and use my pace as much as I can and break the line. So I'll be trying to do that tomorrow as much as I can.
And how many family are coming down for the game?
Yeah, I've got a fair bit of family and mates coming down, so I'm looking forward to it.
Congratulations, good luck tomorrow.
Thank you.
Well, Adam Goods, the Australian of the Year, can join us on ABC Grandstand. Adam, your 26th final and your 4th grand final. Do you still get the same thrills as what you got the first time you're into this week?
Oh, definitely. Into my first time in 05, I had no idea what to expect and the feelings that you'd be going through. But to get back here again, and this is something that's very special in grand final week.
And I just did a straw poll with Lance Franklin and Kurt Tibbett. They said if you say to get out of the way, they clear out the 50. After kicking a few goals last week, do you feel like you've still got a bit to go?
Oh, look, I think if we can combine for 12 goals again this week, then that's going to go a long way for us winning the game. So I'm happy enough to clear out for them, and they're vice versa.
Thanks for your time, Adam.
Cheers, mate.
Adam Goods, it is rather lovely to have the Australian of the Year involved in one of the biggest days on the calendar.
It's a great moment, isn't it? And to think that he's still playing his career, and he's still got a career that he's concentrated on with everything that goes with Australian of the Year, and the way he's been able to manage it has been incredible, and a great testament to the man. I think people that know Adam very well, that he takes it all in his stride. Look, and he's got a lot of criticism from the other side, I think, for everything that's happened and trying to stand up for racism, and it's an area that we need to work on, and I think the more people talk about it and communicate about it, the better it is. And I'm very proud of the way he's been able to stand up for his people, and the way he's actually highlighted a subject that a lot of people jump away and run away from, and are quite afraid to actually bring the subject up at all.
The parade is bittersweet for some. There are 3 from each team who, as they sit here now, aren't playing tomorrow, and that's a lot to deal with. And one of those is Brad Sewell. So this is a chance for Adam White to touch base with the Hawks for the last time in the parade.
Well, Brad Sewell's one of our favourites here at ABC Grandstand. Unfortunately, he's not playing tomorrow, but you're at the parade, Brad. How do you feel about it all?
Right now, being a part of the parade is pretty cool. Seeing as much brown and gold out here as there is, the support is really strong. I guess the broader picture will certainly sink in, tomorrow once the ball's bounced.
How do you feel? I know it's a corny question in a sense, but deep down, what's going through your mind?
Oh, hugely disappointed, naturally, to be missing out. To have played such a huge role with the club for as long as I have been really privileged, but to have just missed out this week's hugely disappointing. But having said that, a huge opportunity for the club and for the three of us that have missed out, we need to be as supportive and remain as positive and upbeat as we can to ensure we do win tomorrow.
Did you have a chat with Clarko early in the week, or did you feel that after missing the prelim that it was going to be difficult for you?
We've been chatting. We chat most weeks, so I certainly thought there was a pretty strong chance that I'd get a chance to play tomorrow, but obviously that didn't come to fruition. So I was disappointed, but we'll win tomorrow.
And as you said, the leadership that you can provide, even just seeing the pictures during the week of you being so upbeat and so encouraging of the other teammates, that's still an important role.
That's a hugely important role for three emergencies. So none of our negative energy, I guess, doesn't detract or drain any of the other guys. We need to still offer plenty of support. There's plenty we do have to offer in terms of seeing the game and advice. So that's really important.
Thanks for all your insights this year on ABC Grandstand. I know we really appreciate it, and good luck for the Hawks tomorrow.
Yeah, thanks very much.
Well, Brian Lake was the hero last year. He's back there again, playing in a grand final. The same as last year. What's the feeling like for you, Brian?
Oh, it's very, very similar. Yeah, the parade, the weather's beautiful like it was last year. Probably a little bit different. That we're probably going to underdogs this year compared to last year, but we're very confident. We know how Sydney want to play, and we think we've got a structure defensively and offensively that can trouble them.
You got a big job, whether you're playing on Kurt Tippett or Lance Franklin. You got some huge responsibility tomorrow.
Yeah, everyone on the field's got a massive responsibility. If it's the forwards, mids, or us defensive players, everyone's got to play their role. Don't have to do anything out of the ordinary. Just got to play your role and play the structures. So as the one-liners and the cliches of football, we're just going to take one moment at a time.
It's an amazing life change for you, being at the Bulldogs for such a long period of time, and then you go to the Hawks and this happens not the first year but also the second year.
Yeah, very blessed. Missing out in 3 grand finals, losing 3 prelims with the Bulldogs. This was sort of my Mad Monday week this week, and been to parade a few times and wasn't playing, which is a bit of a weird feeling being in the parade. It's something that I've always wanted to do when I first got drafted, so it's definitely soaking every moment of it up.
Last question, because I know that your daughter wants to have a chat to you as well, but just that whole feeling of playing well on the big stage. You do a very good job at that.
Well, that's what you want. You want to be able to play good footy against the best, and probably becomes a little bit more predictable. You know how they want to play, and makes your game a lot easier if you know what the opposition are going to do a little bit more. So I do like the big opportunities of playing in big games, but against great opposition as well.
Well, your opponent's Kurt Tippett tomorrow. It's the brass band today. Good luck tomorrow.
Yes, I know. Thank you very much.
Well, I've got Matt Spanger here from the Hawks. Matt, you've got there. You're playing tomorrow.
Yeah, nice to get here. It's been a really good week, actually.
What are the emotions like? Firstly, when you found out that you were actually in the team, your name got put up on the board during the week.
It's probably a combination of excitement, nerves, and relief, but it was really it's probably more excitement this week.
Were there times there where you thought maybe this sort of occasion, this sort of opportunity wouldn't happen?
Yeah, there's probably times in my last year at Sydney where I had a few injuries and I thought, I'd probably blown my chances and my body just couldn't cope. But since coming to Hawthorn, I haven't thought that it was over, and I always thought it was a chance.
And now you play against one of your old sides in Sydney. Is that going to be strange, or is it just you're just happy to be playing in a grand final? It doesn't really matter.
No, it doesn't really matter. I'm lucky enough that I've played against them before, so but I suppose it's fitting, and it's also nice that you get to play against your mates, and so at the end of the day, one of us is going to come away pretty happy.
Matt, what will your role be tomorrow? Because you've played both ends of the ground through the final series. that might happen tomorrow as well?
Yeah, there's always a chance. I mean, Clarko's openly said that to me every game. There's always a chance of playing both ends, so wrap your head around that. More than likely, you're going to start down defence and help the boys out. They've got a pretty potent forward line, so see how we go.
So do you have an anxious sleep tonight, worrying that there might be times you could be isolated on a Buddy or a Tippett or an Adam Goods, or you just let it all happen?
No, I'm not like that at all. So you can't control that, so why worry about it, in my opinion? But I suppose the beauty about defence is we roll through a lot, and then so sometimes you're going to have to take part or Tippett or one of those boys.
Well, you are one of the great stories of the year to get into this grand final. Good luck tomorrow, and hopefully you got a medallion around your neck like so many of your teammates already do have.
Thank you very much, appreciate it.
Matt Spanger there, who's a 27-year-old at his third club in his 51st game, and he lines up in a grand final. There's hope for all of you, Tig.
It's unbelievable. It's just relentless and never ever giving up on your dream or your career. You know, he just signed a 2-year extension in his contract as well, which is great to see. And I spent a lot of the time I was coming towards in my last 2 years with Matt's first 2, and he was actually injured an awful lot, and we spent a lot of time together, and his work ethic's incredible. And you know, I knew that he was going to get there eventually, but whether a club was going to give him the opportunity to keep trying and keep hanging in there, it's an incredible moment. And just looking at a couple of the boys, you know, when you actually, players are quite superstitious, and they're in the parade, you know. And I remember 2005, I was with Mick O'Loughlin, and 2006 you get there and he goes, you're sitting with somebody else. We ended up moving. Mick's gone up, took the tag off, I can't remember who it was, and ended up moving, put his beside mine. We sat beside each other again. He goes, let's not change a thing, Todd. Let's not change a thing.
Which just proves superstitions are stupid.
Stupid, exactly. It didn't work, did it? So there you go.
Tig Kennelly, part of Grandstand's coverage of the 2014 Grand Final Parade at the steps of Treasury Place, where the last of the Swans cars are starting to file past, and they will assemble backstage and be marched out shortly. The Premiership Cup in Jonathan Brown's possession. He'll walk it out onto the rostrum. Let's head to Drew Morfix.
I'm here with Izzy Malcheski, who's Nick's sister. What a thrill he's given you a couple of years ago, winning the grand final with that final kick.
Yeah, he was amazing. Love it. It was really, really good.
So what's it like when you've got a brother playing in the big time and the whole of Australia knows his name, knows what he looks like, and you're part of the family?
You get a lot of questions. Always. I'm always known as Nick's sister, not Izzy. But yeah, it's good. It's really good.
Is there any other sport in the family? I mean, have you played sport at any good level yourself?
No, he's the only one in the whole family that plays sport.
Who plays sport at all?
None of us are athletic whatsoever.
Wow. So how many times have you been down to Melbourne to see him play here in finals?
Every game I've been to in Melbourne and a few in Sydney.
But you live in Sydney?
No, a few in Sydney. Oh. Yeah.
But you live here, do you?
Yeah. So every game in Melbourne I've gone to.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Well, good luck to Nick on the weekend. Let's hope he can repeat what he did a couple of years ago.
I sure hope so. Thank you.
Thank you, Izzy.
How many tickets did you have to organise, Tig, for the grand finals?
I remember after winning the prelim, so we were very lucky. We got a bloke called Andrew Oren who'd experienced it in Brisbane, and it was our first time, like I said, being in the grand final in 2005, and Andrew was all over it. Got us in the Saturday night, and just got everything ordered in house. I had 10 people fly over from Ireland, and it was something about 20-25.
Yeah, I've got you pegged as half a bay.
It cost me a lot of money. And people think, you know, I think it's about 6 tickets, if that, you get free as a player.
Okay.
And people think you actually get them for free, so they're going, any chance of a ticket? And they're going, I think I was thinking, yeah.
So you paid to play.
I paid to play in a granny, but you know, you're supposed to make money, aren't you, when you're playing a grand final as a professional footballer? But it ended up costing you money. But yeah, I like that moment because everything, and Andrew Arnold experienced it, was able to control it. Now these teams have been through it and they know exactly what they're doing, so that's helped.
Okay, Mike Brady's on centre stage here at the grand final parade.
When you start trying to please the crowds and they're unforgiving, there are easier ways to make a living. We've come a long way since the start of things. We've seen the joy that hard work brings. We made us cry, we made us smile. We hit the front, now it's all worthwhile. 'Cause there's one day in September we want to remember. There isn't any doubting we'll be there shouting. Football's such a part of this whole town. Such a part of this whole town. And we know that you won't let us down. Well, there's nothing better than a nice good win. There's no second prize if you let them in. You gotta give your best and then give again. Out there, there's no such thing as friends. We've been our best and we've been our worst. If we do it right, we'll come home first. Gotta get in there and make them sag. Hit them hard, take the flag. Okay, everybody, let's sing! 'Cause there's one day in September we want to remember. There isn't any doubting we'll be in there shouting. We're all such a part of this whole town, such a part of this whole town. And we know that you won't let us down. 'Cause there's one day in September we want to remember. There isn't any doubting we'll be in there shouting. We're all such a part of this whole town, such a part of this whole town. And we know that you won't let us down. Okay, one last time. 'Cause there's one day in September we want to remember. There isn't any doubting we'll be in there shouting. We're all such a part of this whole town, such a part of this whole town. And we know that you won't let us down.
Mike Brady, who seemed to just get lost to footy for a couple of years there, and it is outstanding to have him back with his football anthems, which have crossed the generations now and really make it feel like you're part of this this last week in September, this grand final week in the AFL. Jonathan Brown, he's a welcome sight anywhere at this time of year. A triple premiership player. He's been the man assigned the cup. I'm not 100% sure you'd trust Browning with the cup.
I don't know what he's done with it for the week or what's not, and he's been touring around the country and whatnot, but I'm sure he wouldn't try and actually nip it from underneath Jonathan. He's probably a great security man to actually have it. If anything, it's safe hands, but what he's done with it is another question. And he's just missed the September as well for me. The success that he had, he's probably the generation football in the 2000s that's moved on now, and now you got your next generation of footballers almost with your social media and what's not. Let's hear from him.
Looking forward to it. I wish I could still be playing the game, but it'll be an amazing feeling for the 44 great players that are going to run out there, but I'm really looking forward to it.
And you've been to that many functions, luncheons and dinners. How's the cup feeling? Is it having an early night tonight?
We're putting it to bed. I've kicked Kylie out of bed and I'm sleeping with a cup. Going to deliver it safely tomorrow for the winning team, whoever that may be.
Looking forward to seeing you at the MCG tomorrow. You've done a great job, Jonathan Brown.
Thank you, guys.
Our Cup Ambassador for 2014. Well, folks, we are in the sporting capital of the known galaxy, and it is my great pleasure now to welcome the Deputy Lord Mayor of Melbourne, Susan Riley, to say a few words. You right?
Welcome, everyone, to this most magnificent Melbourne day. There's nothing like September, that last week, when the grand final and this parade. And tomorrow, may the match be a beauty and your team win. And the best team win. Enjoy your day.
Susan, thank you. And thank you again to the City of Melbourne for your outstanding assistance in us being able to put the parade on here today. Okay, you ready? You ready? Here we go. Let's welcome the Mighty Hawks.
Team at Hawthorn, we're the mighty fighting Hawks.
So led out by Luke Hodge. It's such a special day for him, the number one draft pick who's already won a Norm Smith medal and lifted the Premiership Cup. It's game number 250 and he marches out with Alistair Clarkson, the Hawthorn coach, whose legacy is wrapped up in the events of tomorrow. If he's a three-time Premiership coach, it will elevate his status to be up with the greats. And not just within Hawthorn, but right across the competition.
There's so much pressure on the two coaches for me. You know, I think obviously one of them's going to lose 2 grand finals in 3 years, and that's not a great legacy to have. Obviously Clark wins, he's got the 3 premierships, John Lomo's got the 2 in 3 years. So, but this is a moment, you know, I'm sure the coach and the experience that he's had, People forget it was 1996 this club nearly folded. It's been an incredible almost 20 years from it, and what they've been able to achieve. It's not one of the powerhouses in the AFL, and the system for me, the year that they've had with injuries and the environment that club has created, that it doesn't matter with the personnel that's coming in, and that's probably such a testament and a great testament to a really strong football club and a really strong football environment.
Relaxed and confident is how you would observe the Hawks.
Tomorrow night, or are we going to hear this tomorrow night? Let's welcome the Swans.
Cheer, cheer, the red and the white, honour the name by day and by night.
So a club that endured the longest premiership drought of all. It's the fourth time in the era that the Swans have been to this last Saturday in September. John Longmire comes out with them, and Kieran Jack, one of the young men who's inherited the culture of the Bloods, the leadership which is so revered at this club. He's going to have the honour of stepping up towards the Premiership Cup for now. And Jared McVeigh, who knows a thing or two about it back through the years as the co-captain, looks like he'll just take the back seat for the time being. But for John Longmire, who inherited the riches of Paul Roos, and he's made them richer still.
This is the difference for John, I'm sure of it. You know, he was a part and assistant coach obviously in 2005. But 2012 he got handed, but he's made a big imprint in this football team. They're now the fourth attacking team in the competition. You know, we were 15-16 under Roosie in 2005. He's really put his stamp on this football club. There's 7 new players in the team that are going to play tomorrow, different in 2012. The way they've traded, the way they've recruited has been incredible in that short period of time.
They have transformed from a dual battalion to the all-star Swans, with Lance Franklin and Kurt Tippett standing in the red and white.
The sons are marching onward to victory.
Fancy the crowd numbers are with the Swans.
They've all travelled, they've been down here. You know, they're ready to go. I think the Sydney crowd for sure.
What a build-up, what a day. Tell us about the parade experience. It just seems to get bigger and better every year.
Yeah, exactly right. It's always great to rock up and see so many supporters come in. Obviously, the Melbourne weather's turned it on for us today, so it hasn't been the same the past years. But look, to all the supporters who have come out today, thank you very much, and I look forward to seeing you guys tomorrow.
Indeed. And Luke, the build-up this week, just the same as normal. You had a great training session out at Waverley yesterday.
Yeah, obviously there's a few things that you get thrown in there. The Brownlow, obviously the parade, that's obviously a lot different. But apart from that, you try and keep everything the same. We've pretty much done that. It was great yesterday as well. We had a lot of supporters out there for our main training session. And I guess post this, it's switching on and focusing on the grand final tomorrow.
Look forward to seeing you at the MCG with the boys tomorrow. Luke Hodge, captain of the Hawthorn Football Club. And the man representing the Swans today, co-captain Kieran Jack. Kieran, come on up. I'm sure, like the rest of the team, you are inspired by the amount of red and white that you've seen in the crowd and on the way through the parade.
Yeah, it looks magnificent. All the red and white here today. Thank you very much. It's been fantastic support all year, and hopefully one more to go.
And you came down from Sydney yesterday. And what's been the program since you landed in Melbourne?
Yeah, it sort of hit us when we got down to Melbourne yesterday. A lot of media, a lot of fans there to support. We're on the MCG this morning. Yeah, it looks magnificent. So we've trained well, we prepared as best we possibly can, and now we've got to get ready for tomorrow afternoon.
Well, they say in the classics, Kieran, you're ready to go. Ready to go. Kieran, I'm going to invite you and Luke to come forward, and I'd like you to grab hold of the 2014 Premiership Cup. I'd like you to hold it aloft in the true spirit of great sportsmanship and the great game of Australian football. Good luck to the Swans. Good luck to the Hawks. The 2014 Toyota AFL Grand Final.
So that's the image that speaks of hope and ambition, with Luke Hodge on one side of the Premiership Cup and Kieran Jack on the other. The brown and gold and the red and white. And tomorrow we'll find out who prevails and who owns the 2014 Premiership Cup. That's it from the grand final parade. Tomorrow, Hawthorn and the Swans from the Jet.